Are we rolling? Welcome back. It's been an interesting conversation that we've been having behind the scenes as we eat. First and foremost, Solo.
Yo.
No sleeping, man. I've seen what you've eaten, Bana.
That was a giant lamb shank.
How was the lunch?
Beautiful. Very tasty, yeah.
Same here.
Good portion. Flavorful. I give them points.
Hence why I'm saying no sleeping, man.
I'll try.
Myself had some, me and Derek also had some pork chops. We've decided we're going to explore their whole menu while we're here.
Awesome.
But again, Sarova, a big thank you for the hospitality. Thank you so much for the meal. It definitely serves as a wonderful pit stop as we continue this story. Talking about story, we left it off at such a cliffhanger. What?
What was that?
Which was, you made a one-way trip.
Oh, yes.
To your new home without sort of
NC.
informing the other party.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Let's continue this conversation.
Yeah, well, I mean, the plan was just to hang out there for a little bit while I figured out what to do. But then I never figured out what to do, so I just stayed. And it's during that period of time that I started learning about real estate investing, because looking for something to do, you know what I mean? Something that will make me money and something I'm passionate about. So I figured since I can't get a degree to design the buildings, I can at least learn some aspect of real estate. And since I like to make money as much as the next guy, I started learning. I remember I used to stay up really late watching infomercials and movie marathons and whatnot, just to pass the time since I had nothing else to do. And I watched an ad on TV about how you could own real estate in America with no money down, no experience, and no credit.
What?
Yeah, I was like, that's me. I had no money
no
to
real
put down. I had no real estate yet, and my credit was short. So, because I had borrowed money from school for class and I couldn't pay back. So yeah, definitely my credit score was really bad. So I remember I swiped my card for the last, I think it was $23 or something. And a few days later, I received a package in the mail from a gentleman called Ron Legrand. Ron Legrand was big in the real estate space, teaching people how to do no money down real estate deals.
No way.
Yeah. So later on, he probably made more money selling the program than he did from actually doing real estate. But he was big at the time, and so I consumed that information. I studied, like I took notes, I dissected every step. I talked to lawyers about the legal side of things, and a few of them I tell them I don't have credit, I'm not a US citizen, I don't have a job, is this possible? And they're like, yeah. And what about your immigration status? Like, well, technically I violated my immigration status. And everyone said, fortunately that's not an aspect they look at when they're selling you land, at least at the time, or property. If you had a beneficial interest, what they call a beneficial interest in law, the only thing that counted was you meeting the terms of your sale agreement with the other party. End of story.
What?
Yeah. And the whole concept behind it was learn how to identify a good deal, how to sniff out a good deal, how to analyze one, how to identify one. Second step was get good at negotiating with the property owner to give you a good deal on it. And that generally involved working with distressed property owners. So guys who are going through divorce, succession issues, bankruptcies, financial hardship, whatever. Or you're buying distressed property. So either the owner is distressed or the property itself is distressed.
How can property be distressed?
So very common situation, someone passed away, they left the house to their children or their child, and the child lived in another state, didn't have the financial ability or interest to maintain the property. So it just sat vacant, the grass overgrew, it grew mold. Idle kids then broke the windows, started smoking in there, it became a drug house. And then before you know it, the city is condemning the property because it's unsightly and it's affecting the value of properties on the street. So they list it on the condemnation list for razing or tearing down. In those situations, they show up, they give you time to fix, to remedy. If you don't, they tear down the thing, then they charge you for the cost of tearing down. And if you don't pay them back, it goes against your credit record as well. You know, so in those instances, maybe the owner is not distressed by some circumstance in life. They just have no interest. And the property itself is distressed, and you can get a good deal. Usually you can buy it for a fraction of its potential value. Yeah, so
somebody doesn't care about it. It's a burden to them almost.
Yes, it is. There's one we did in DC actually. We did a number of those in DC with my cousin Moots. Moots is the closest thing I've ever had to a brother. And before I joined him in DC to do this after I left North Carolina, we did one of those deals, and the potential is insane. So I got really good. I learned how to do that. And so I started moving around trying to find deals. And because I didn't have the money to close on the transaction, I would sell my contract to the investor who actually had the money. So you had to look also for an investor. Yes, which was actually easier to find than the actual properties, because every county had real estate investment groups. They would get together once or twice a week for coffees or breakfast and discuss potential deals, solve each other's problems. So I joined the local one. They used to meet at a place in Greensboro every Tuesday morning. So I used to go, just socialize, ask questions, do deals. If they can't do it, they'll know someone who can. So it was relatively easy to find. It was easier to find investors than it was to find the right property. And so that's how I got introduced to real estate in a practical sense. Can you remember your first deal that you did? Yeah, dude. The first deal I did was in North Carolina. This was in a suburb of Greensboro. One of the things I used to do to find deals, I would call realtors, right? And tell them I'm looking for such and such a criteria of properties. If anything comes along, would you let me know? And because you're dealing with licensed agents, you know, licensed by the state and the national body for realtors, it was very professional engagement, and they were very motivated to help whoever because they earn a commission. So this one lady, African American, I remember her very well, except for her name. She was a very bubbly personality. For whatever reason, she took me seriously. Of course, she had no idea my bank account was zero. Yep. All she knew was there was this kid with a weird accent, but he speaks relatively good English. Says he's looking for fixer-upper property. So she would spend entire days driving me around neighborhoods, showing me these listings. So it hardly cost me anything. And I made an offer on one. And so now you spoke to the owner of that property? No, so the property was listed, so I didn't have to speak to the owner directly. She represented my interest and spoke to the owner's listing agent. And this house was on the market for, I think, $50,000. And I offered 30 because it was old, outdated cabinets, floor needed replacement. It just needed a general facelift. And which, if you did, would improve the value of the house significantly, more than it would cost you to improve. Right? So right around the same time, I met a lady during the breakfast meetings, Tina Crisco. white lady, sweetest lady, man. I don't know where she is today. I hope she's doing well. She, like Miss Hewitt, showed me unusual grace and favor. She called me one day, right around the time I was riding around looking at these properties. She said, Solomon, listen, I know we've had breakfast a couple times. You don't know me very well. I've been listening to you. You seem to know what to look for. I don't know what your money situation is, but I have a lot of money, but I don't know what to look for and I don't have the time to learn how. Because I'm a full-time employee. She worked for this tire company, Michelin. She worked in one of their factories in North Carolina, making the tires, you know. So she said, I work full-time. I had a proposal. If you find the deals, bring them. I'll put in the money, and then we split the profits 50-50.
What?
Yeah, and so the first offer I made on that property got accepted.
The $30,000.
Yeah.
For $50,000 piece of real estate.
Yeah. I mean, already that was a massive discount from its listing price. So instead of doing the sale agreement myself, I made the offer, but in terms of the sale agreement, I assigned my rights to the sale agreement to Tina, who signed the sale agreement, and she paid me a $1,000 assignment fee for letting her take my place on the sale agreement. So that was my first, earned tunes from doing real estate in North America. This was in North Carolina, and so we did the deal. I was so happy. I mean, it was just $1,000, but it was $1,000 I had no other way of making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not working.
No.
In North Carolina, you're not working.
No. I couldn't work legally.
Yeah. But even you're not bus.
No.
Bus boy. Bus boying.
Yeah, I wasn't bus boying. I decided to focus on this real estate thing because the numbers were attractive enough to where I reasoned like I could actually make enough money to go back to school and even send money back home and so on. Around the same time, my cousin Mutz was doing the same thing. He was starting like me, doing the same thing in DC. So we would compare notes all the time and share things we're learning and so on, except the numbers in DC were multiple times doing exactly the same thing as I was doing in North Carolina. So anyway, this went on for like a year.
So hold on. So did you make profit on that deal, or you just assigned your rights?
I assigned my rights, so I made a $1,000 profit because remember, I was driven around by the realtor for free.
Yeah.
It cost me time.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, my realtor made a commission when Tina bought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was compensated for the effort she had put in. Now, when Tina finished paying, she said, Solomon, I don't know how to rehab this thing. Here's the money. You rehab it, and then let's flog it.
What?
Yeah, so my painting skills came back into relevance. And so we did the rehab. I refaced the kitchen cabinets, redid the floors.
Did it cost you the $20,000 or about?
No, it cost us $11,000 in total.
Oh, so that's still underpriced from what you'd have bought.
Yeah, so she's in $41,000, after which it valued for $75,000. So she decided in the end to keep it for a rental. Yeah, because she has equity that she can pull out whenever with her lender, right? So she kept it as a rental as opposed to flogging. But then she availed another $200,000 to do a bunch of other deals. So I found another fixer-upper. We fixed it. This one was different. How did I find it? I think I was driving around a neighborhood and I saw a for sale sign, but I didn't like the house. And then there was one next to it that sort of looked vacant. And I went and knocked on the door, see if there was anyone home, because it had the telltale signs of a distressed property. Long grass, unraked leaves, mildew and mold on the paint outside, sort of looking you know, uninhabited.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, an older lady opened the door. She smelled of smoke, like just, it smelled like 100 people had been smoking in that house for like 100 years with no air circulating.
Yeah.
It was bad. And I, you know, introduced myself. I said, my name is Solomon. I was just looking in the neighborhood for some properties. Do you mind speaking to me? She's a white lady. It's a white neighborhood. North Carolina is mostly white. At least this part of Greensboro. And surprisingly, she said yes. So she invited me in, made me a cup of coffee, and asked her questions about the house. Would she be interested in selling? She's like, no, I wouldn't, but I'm 3 months behind on my mortgage. I just got a letter from the bank that they're gonna foreclose this thing, and I really don't want to lose the house. I lived here with my husband. They're like, oh, where is he? Oh, he died 2 years ago. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And you have kids? No, we never had kids. He had kids with his first wife, but they never liked me. I was the stepmother that they hated. They haven't visited me since my husband died. Oh. So I'm alone. I had my mom here. My mom moved in after my husband died, but she got sick and she died a few months later. In fact, she died in that bedroom right there. So I've been really depressed. It affected my energy levels. I wasn't performing well at work. I got fired and I've fallen behind on my mortgage. I was like, wow, let me think about it and get back to you. So I go back home and review my Ron LeGrand notes. And basically the situation was she owed $60,000 on this house, but it was worth about $110,000. So she had almost half of the value in equity, except her credit score was short because she was falling behind on payments, and she's about to lose the house to foreclosure. And there's no guarantee that the foreclosure will sell
at, because they're just trying to make.
Yeah, they just need their 60K and they bounce, you know. And besides that, once it goes to foreclosure, it dings your credit score even more. Now, the banks are not interested in foreclosing. As much as they do, it's not in their interest because
they're not in the game of selling land or selling property.
Or owning property. Yeah. And for every non-performing loan on their books, they also get dinged on their credit scores on the backside. So they would rather find a resolution. So we did what we call a short sale on the deal. So I called the bank. I had the lady give me, you know, letter of authority to deal on her behalf. So based on that, I called the bank and they agreed to speak with me, and they told me they needed $4,000 immediately to make the thing current, and they would give me time, or I settle for, you know, maybe 80-70% of what they're owed, and they'll call the loan due. Now, that would have been the best option, except the lady didn't want to leave. And I'm not about to pay. I'm not about to make my new partner, Tina, pay for someone's mortgage and then we don't have a property to sell. So I went back to the lady and I said, listen, the best thing for us to do is make the loan current and keep it current. Her monthly payments, I think, were somewhere around $350, not too much, $400. And then we told her we're gonna have to redo your kitchen, bathrooms, facelift, you know, replace the floors, paint the outside, do some landscaping, the whole bit. It cost us about $20,000 to do all that because I did most of it myself. The kitchen was the most costly one because it cost us $11,000. We had to hire a specialist to do the fittings. The appliances were costly. We went all out on the kitchen. I learned during those days that the two most important spaces in a home are kitchen and bathrooms. Yes. Everything else can be prettified with furniture and paint, but the kitchen and bathroom are done. Like once they move in, they are what they have to use. So if they don't like those two spaces from the onset, you will have a hard time selling. So we blew money on the kitchen and we listed it. After we had it upgraded, it valued for $155,000.
But I thought she said she's not moving.
No, so by this time we had convinced her it was in her best interest.
Yeah, or else you're going to lose.
Yeah. So she said, great. So how do you want me to live with no money? I said, no. We can agree on how much over and above your mortgage you get. Because when we sell, bank gets their money first. Whatever's left is what we have to work with. So how much of that do you want, considering that we're risking the capital to fix a house? She said, just give me $10,000 in cash over and above my mortgage, because you'll have fixed my credit, saved my credit score. I'll have some cash to move on with, and I can rebuild my life. We signed the agreement, and that's exactly what happened. We listed the house. It took a while to sell, I think maybe 6 months, which was longer than I would have liked. But we got exactly what we wanted in selling price. Where we sold it for $135,000, so we left some equity for the new buyer just to sweeten the deal. And we kept the difference of about a few tens of thousands of dollars.
So hold on, so now you've gone from, hey, hold on, Solo, wait up, this is insane. You've gone from zero bob, you had no money that you were making, to suddenly you can comfortably live.
Yes, I could have. Although I didn't move out of Aika's place. I prefer to stay.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, the first year was just those 2 deals mainly. The next year we did another 4 deals.
What?
Still with Tina.
So Tina is happy.
She was until the third deal. So the third deal was, we met this African American gentleman.